In life, you might find yourself questioning if there's still a chance with someone you care about, wondering whether persistence will win her back or if it's time to let go. Let's explore 5 crucial signals that indicate when it's time to move on. This is Stoic Approach to life, and I've encountered many individuals facing similar dilemmas, both in my personal experiences and in guiding others. Often, you meet someone and things feel perfect. Everything seems to click. Then suddenly, her interest fades. Communication slows, excuses about being busy become more frequent, and you're left wondering whether it's worth continuing. At this point, you're faced with the ultimate question. Is this person still worth pursuing, or is it time to step back? This can be difficult, especially when you've already imagined a future together. Maybe there were intense moments that made you feel a deep connection, but now you're left guessing about her true feelings. She might not want to hurt you, giving subtle signs in the hope that you'll get the message. How do you know when to step back and move on? Let's dive into 5 signs that signal it's time to reassess. The first sign, which is more about your internal state, is when you find yourself in what I call emotional quicksand. We've all been there. You become obsessed with thoughts of her, constantly checking your phone, rehashing conversations in your mind, wondering where things went wrong. It's an all-consuming fixation, and it's affecting every aspect of your life. In this state, your emotions have taken over completely, and that's dangerous. You're stuck, unable to think clearly or make rational decisions. The harder you try to fix things, the deeper you sink, making it nearly impossible to salvage the relationship. When you're consumed by emotional quicksand, the best course of action is to take a step back. At this point, continuing to pursue her will only lead to more frustration. When emotions dictate your actions, they usually steer you wrong. I've seen it repeatedly. Someone's situation might still be recoverable, but because they are overwhelmed by emotion, they end up doing the opposite of what would help. Despite good advice, they may over-communicate, sending multiple texts, emails, or extravagant gestures like flowers, all of which push her further away. Emotions often whisper false advice, encouraging you to send just one more message, or assume that her phone must be broken. But when you let emotions take the reins, your judgment is clouded. Even if she agrees to meet up, your mindset may be so scattered that you'll struggle to present yourself in the best light, sabotaging any chance of rekindling what you once had. This doesn't mean you must say goodbye forever, but it does mean that for now, you need to refocus your energy elsewhere. Let yourself regroup so that when the time comes to interact with her again, you'll be thinking clearly, free from the emotional fog. One of the clearest signs that your chances of rekindling the connection have diminished significantly is when you're around her and she agrees to meet. But when you reach out to touch her, she recoils as if you're an unwelcome presence. It's a strong indication of a shift in her perception. Here's the thing. Men and women experience attraction differently. For many men, physical attraction remains intact regardless of other factors. Even if she's made poor decisions or her behavior seems erratic, a simple touch can still be stimulating. This is because men are naturally visual and respond to physical appeal on a basic level. Women, however, operate differently. Once certain lines have been crossed, once neediness or insecurity is displayed, her attraction can take a nosedive. This is especially true when the earlier mistakes, like over-communicating or emotionally dumping on her, have created a shift in how she sees you. Maybe at one point you were the confident, carefree person she enjoyed spending time with. But now, she might see you with a sense of pity or even frustration. Here's where it gets tricky. Some people think if they just manage to meet her in person again, everything will fall back into place. They bulldoze their way into another interaction, hoping it will fix things. But by that point, if she has lost respect for you, being in front of her only amplifies the problem. You'll know you've reached a low point when her physical reaction to you is one of discomfort or aversion. When she's recoiling from your touch, it's a signal that attraction has dwindled, and there's little left to rebuild upon. Yes, it may seem unfair, but the reality is that once a woman reaches this stage, regaining her attraction is incredibly challenging. I often tell people to seek help before they reach this breaking point. I can help in most cases, but once she's repelled by your presence, it's an uphill battle. At that stage, the best course of action is to walk away. Sometimes, after the initial shock of the mistakes you've made fades, she might come to realize that you were a good person after all. But that realization has to come from her, on her own terms. There's a line in the movie Swingers that captures this perfectly. There's nothing you can do to make her want to come back. There's only things you can do to make her not want to come back. It's true. You may have noticed that when you finally stop trying, she reaches out. But the more you push to get her back, the more you drive her away. Another key signal that it's time to move on is when she begins to disrespect you. Disrespect often arises when she's lost respect for you, and when that happens, things can take a sharp downward turn. She may begin treating you poorly, making snide remarks, canceling plans, or disregarding your feelings entirely. I've seen this in many cases. Someone comes to me, explaining their situation, desperately wanting to win her back. And as they describe how she's been treating them, I can't help but think, why would you even want to be with someone who treats you like this? But for many, their self-respect and self-worth have taken such a hit that they just want her back, almost like they're chasing after something they've lost. This is what I call chasing the loss, a term borrowed from the world of gambling. In gambling, when you're on a winning streak, it feels incredible. The chemicals in your brain are giving you all the right signals. But once you start losing, instead of walking away from the table, you keep going, trying to recover that initial high. The same happens in relationships. Guys keep pursuing her, not necessarily because they still want her, but because they want to feel validated again, to erase the negative feelings she's made them experience. When a woman disrespects you, you need to step back. It's important to understand that when respect is lost, your dignity is on the line. I've been through this personally. I once had a female friend that I had been intimate with, and after things shifted, I tried everything to win her back. Flowers, texts, the whole routine. It wasn't long before I realized she was losing respect for me. One day, she even sent me a message, and for a brief moment, I felt hopeful seeing her name pop up on my phone. But when I opened it, it read, "If you tell anyone about us, I'll never talk to you again." That was my breaking point. At that moment, I knew I had to walk away. When someone loses respect for you, holding on to your dignity becomes non-negotiable. Even if you think she's the one or the best you can do, remember, someone better will come along. This is something I've witnessed over and over again. You must be in a mentally strong place when that person arrives. If you let her disrespect beat you down, it can have a lasting effect on your self-esteem, making it difficult to get back into the dating scene with confidence. Her actions and treatment can ingrain a negative self-image that will hold you back. Now, it's not always her fault. Sometimes we've made mistakes that contributed to this dynamic. But regardless of how you arrived here, the best course of action when you sense disrespect is to set firm personal boundaries. It's crucial to reclaim your self-respect. When you find out there's another guy in the picture, that's a major sign to step away. Often, when I talk to clients, they'll say everything was going great. The girl was talking about future plans, maybe a vacation together, and then, out of nowhere, she pulls back. Naturally, the first thing they think is, what did I do wrong? Sometimes the answer is simple. Maybe they confess their feelings too early, like saying, I love you after just 2 weeks. That can be overwhelming. But in other cases, they didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Things were going fine, but another guy showed up. Sometimes it's an ex, or maybe a guy she sees regularly, perhaps a coworker or someone in her social circle. This proximity gives him a clear advantage. It's tough to compete when you're not in her daily life, especially if all your interactions are over text. When you sense that there's another guy around, it's often best to walk away. The timing isn't right. That doesn't mean she won't circle back to you later on. If things don't work out with the other guy, she might remember how cool you were and reach out again. When that happens, it's your call whether you want to pick things up. However, I advise walking away when there's another man involved because of how the mind works. I teach a strategy called the Scrambler, which is designed to make her think about you constantly, eventually convincing herself she's into you. But if she's already focused on another guy, it's nearly impossible for her to think about both of you at the same time. People typically obsess over one person at a time. And if she's caught up with him, your messages will feel like a distraction. In fact, she might even start resenting your attempts to reach out. It's like when we're really into one person and someone we're not interested in keeps texting us, we get annoyed. It's the same with her. If you pick up on the fact that she's got someone else in her life, it's time to take a step back. Focus on yourself, get on Tinder, go on some dates, and clear your head. This is one of the best times in history to be single. Meeting women has never been easier. Dating apps, social events, and group activities cater to every interest. Whether you're into rock climbing, business, or anything else, there are groups where you can meet like-minded people. So instead of being stuck chasing someone who's already with another guy, go enjoy the abundance of options that are out there. Another key sign that it's time to walk away is when you start turning down other options. In today's world, it's the easiest time ever for men to meet women, thanks to dating apps and social networks. But on the flip side, it's also the easiest time for women to meet men. This means both men and women have tons of options, making it hard to keep someone's attention. That's why strategies like the scrambler are helpful. It keeps her thinking about you. However, if things aren't going well with her and you're still stuck on her, even when you have other women showing interest, that's a major red flag. A lot of times, guys get so caught up with one girl who has already mentally checked out, and they end up wasting all their newfound dating skills on someone who's no longer invested. The irony is that once you've learned how to attract women, it becomes so much easier to meet and connect with new women. But instead, you might find yourself ignoring potential new connections because you're too focused on the one who's walking away. I always tell my clients, if she's pulling back, the best thing you can do is go out and date other women. There's not much you can do to make her come back, but dating someone else can trigger a reaction. When she sees that you're moving on and that other women are interested in you, it often sparks her interest again. She might think, wait, maybe I shouldn't walk away from this guy. So if you're finding yourself in emotional quicksand, if she recoils like you're some creepy relative, if she's disrespectful, if there's another guy in the picture, or if you're turning down other options just for her, it's time to walk away. Don't let her hold you back from all the other possibilities waiting for you. I hope you've benefited from this video one way or another. Think through this advice. Thanks as always for watching, and always remember to keep embracing a stoic approach to life.